Good morning. This is the public meeting of the Indiana Arts Commission Advisory Review Panel. We're convened today to review applications from Region 8 for the fiscal year 2024-2025 Arts Organization Support Grant Program. I am Andres Angstanera, Deputy Director of Operations for the Indiana Arts Commission, and I will serve as your facilitator for today's review panel. Today is Friday, April 28, 2023, and the time is 10 a.m. Eastern. This meeting is being held online and we're streaming live for applicants and the public to observe. As a reminder, there is no contact between the panel reviewers and the audience about the disposition of an application before, during, or after the panel. This meeting will be recorded and made available upon request. At this time, I would like to invite each of our panelists, program manager, and staff members to introduce themselves. Let's start with the members of our panel. Please share your name, occupation, and location from where you're joining us today. Let's start over with Jessica.
Hi, my name is Jessica Edwards Sheets. I'm a development and marketing associate with the Indianapolis Chamber Orchestra.
Thank you, Jessica. Bonnie.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Good, and I'm a writer and book reviewer, and I'm coming from Seymour, Indiana.
Thank you, Bonnie. Taryn.
Morning, I'm Taryn Marks. I'm a blacksmith in Bloomington, Indiana.
Thank you, Taryn. And let's move on to the program manager, Sean.
Hello, I'm Sean Hildreth. I am the Region 8 Arts Partner, and I am in Seymour, Indiana, but based at the Brown County Community Foundation in Nashville.
Thank you, Sean. Paige.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Paige Sharp. I'm Deputy Director of Programs for the Indiana Arts Commission, and I'm here to observe the process and clarify policy as needed.
And Suzette.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Suzette Hartsfield Jones, and I am the Contracting and Financial Operations Coordinator here at the IAC. And today I will be serving as tech support for the Zoom panel.
Great. Thank you all. And again, thank you for being here with us today. So now we'll begin the panel review. And this is how the process will play out. The panel will discuss each application and the assigned reader will summarize the review before the discussion moves to the full panel. Once the panel has completed their discussion, they will have an opportunity to update their scores. As the panel facilitator, I encourage the panel to be conversational in your discussion. Feel free to ask any questions from one another and chime in when you have thoughts to add. But we want to be mindful of the time and focus of the highlights. I am also here to ensure that the discussion includes each of the 4 evaluation criteria: organizational excellence, artistic quality, inclusion, diversity, equity, and access, otherwise known as IDEA, and community engagement. For today's panel, there is one conflict of interest reported. When it's time to review the application, with this conflict of interest, the panelists will be placed in a waiting room until we're ready for the next application. Before we begin, are there any questions from the panelists? Great, hearing none, let's dive in. Our first application is Arts Alliance of Greater Bloomington, and our reader is Bonnie.
With the Arts Alliance, under the organization and the ID, they have a mall location, which is a great opportunity to introduce local arts to different demographics outside of the typical arts venues. So it's a little different outside of the normal art district. For equity, they do keep low membership fees and inexpensive venue rentals. They also have interactive art in the gallery, which is a great way of keeping, it's a way to attract repeat customers or visitors and to also increase the engagement. They are still in the process of working to find better ways to measure demographics of patrons. And so that's something to consider as well.
Thank you, Bonnie. Any additional comments or opposing views?
I would just like to kind of add on to that and say, I thought they did a great job explaining how they've filled the void left behind by the Arts Council. It's really clear what their need is, and it sounds like they're making great strides to increase community arts engagement. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Jessica. Any additional comments? Hearing none, let's take time then to update any comments in your application and update any score if needed, and then give me a thumbs up when you're ready to move on to the next application, please. Thank you, Taryn. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Jessica. Moving on, we're going to go to the Bloomington Chamber Singer. Our reader is Taryn.
Thank you. Under organizational excellence, I thought their narrative was clear and thorough and detailed a long history of providing high quality performances to the public. Under idea, I thought that did excellent work identifying the audience they serve. The organization also demonstrates an understanding of which populations are underserved and a commitment to seeking them out with school programming and live streaming. The note in their application about the self-selection of survey respondents not producing a truly representative picture of attendees was appreciated. Then under artistic quality, I believe they demonstrated a commitment to producing high-level performances through supportive, collaborative development with individual artists. And finally, for community engagement, I thought it was an excellent attention to detail. The organization seems deeply engaged within the Bloomington community, and I would be interested, or will be interested to see the results of reaching out to more diverse audience, both in artist recruitment and potential concert attendees. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Taryn. Any additional comments? Okay, hearing none. Let's then take time then to update any comments and update any scores, and please signify that you're ready to move on by thumbs up. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Taryn.
Okay.
Thank you, Bonnie. Moving on, we're going over now to the Bloomington Creative Blast Center. Our reader is Jessica.
All right. Under organizational excellence, I appreciated the acknowledgement that while Bloomington is a thriving arts community, there aren't as many opportunities for beginners to learn how to make art. So I thought it was clear the void that they're filling there. It was exciting to read that the organization sees students return as instructors. I think that's a great testament to excellence. And the programs are clearly described and clearly provide great services to this community. I would say the organization was right about board committees being a helpful next step. And I think it would have been helpful to have some more information on how board members kind of come to the table as far as what their backgrounds are and what their expertise is. Under idea, I thought the organization clearly described how they're increasing access to glassblowing arts through their apprenticeship and scholarship programs. I liked that they were taking their programs to schools instead of trying to have students just come to them. Thought that was a great way to increase access. And their plan for expansion of bilingual programming is also going to serve this organization well. The organization also had a great goal to bring more low-income individuals into their center. It sounds like there's still a few steps to move forward. One barrier I'd suggest they consider is the timing of the classes that they offer. Under artistic quality, this response gave a detailed look at all the classes and programming, which clearly offer quality artistic instruction. I would say some details on how instructors are hired and assessed, and a process for continuous improvement needed a little bit more detail. Under community engagement, I appreciated that the organization put collaboration at the forefront. That was very clear. They seem to be doing all the right things to work with communities rather than for, and I like that they're reaching out to people and asking what they can provide that would help them. A few questions I was left with in this section were if the community input questions posted with comments as a form of feedback, or if they were received in an anonymous survey. So just something to think about.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jessica. Any additional comments or opposing views? Hearing none, let's head over then to the comments in the application section and updating a score, and signify you're ready to move on with thumbs up, please. Thank you, Taryn. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Jessica. All right, moving up, it's going to be the Bloomington Symphony Orchestra, and our reader is Taryn.
Thank you. Under organizational excellence, this organization has a long history of successful programming, which speaks to their ability to continue. I would be interested in seeing more information about how their income streams might be diversified in the wake of the pandemic. Under idea, the focus on educating patrons on the value of new music is noted. Combining underrepresented composers with established icons is a wonderful way to introduce audiences to them. Offering a wide variety of concert options to a range of demographic and interest groups is outstanding. Briefly under artistic quality, I thought it was its descriptive breakdown of the many performances presented. And community engagement, the response to this portion of the application demonstrates a high level of organizational self-awareness that is critical to keeping the community engaged. Thank you.
Thank you, Taryn. Any additional comments?
Under the community engagement, I thought they had a really strong example with composer Orego Sakis. Forgive me if I mispronounced that, but I thought that was a really good example for them to show the power of what they're doing.
Thank you, Bonnie. Any additional comments? All right, hearing none, please update your comments and scores and signify you're ready to move on with thumbs up, please. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Theron. Thank you, Bonnie. Up next is the Brown County Arts Gallery Foundation Incorporated. Reader is Bonnie.
Okay. Sorry, just 1 second, please. Okay. So with this particular request, they're really stressing lighting and other enhancements. They have a unique way of putting this in their application about framing as past, present, and future, which cleverly encapsulates their functions. They also took advantage of the COVID era government funding, and they have a CPA reviewing their books monthly, which is greatly appreciated. See, for the idea, it's clear that the organization includes those from every economic background. There's mention of ethnic inclusion, but it needs more explanation on those outreach efforts. With the community engagement, there's also a lot of partnerships, especially with the TC Steel site and Brown County State Park. And then some, with the feedback, it's mostly guest book and social media. Okay.
Hey, any additional comments?
Yeah, I have a few. Under organizational excellence, after reviewing the application, I'd like to see more information about the importance of the organization to the community, how it operates in terms of staffing, the board, and partnerships, and more specific information about its financial situation. And then under idea, I would like to see more details addressing what the organization has done to deepen IDEA principles over the past 5 years, how IDEA work has strengthened the organization, what the organization's long-term IDEA goals are, and how they will accomplish them. Additional information about the audience being served would be helpful as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Taryn. Jessica, any additional comments?
Taryn had my comment, so that was perfect.
Great. Now, please take time to update your scores or any comments and let me know when we're ready to move to the next one. Thank you, Taryn. Thank you, Jessica. And thank you, Bonnie. Up next, let's move over to the Brown County Art Guild Incorporated. Reader is Taryn.
Thank you. Organizational excellence. I'd be interested in more information about the works being preserved their importance to the community, and what is required to preserve them in terms of facilities and staffing. For example, providing the historic and monetary value of the preserved works relative to space requirements and staffing. Under idea, I thought partnering with the Center for Rural Engagement signaled a commitment to addressing some of the inequities present in a community that has moved toward an older, retired demographic and away from young, lower and middle class families. Further development of programming that encourages the participation of younger populations is a good goal, and they did note that. The effort to make the organization's facilities more accessible to people with disabilities is noted as well. I'd be interested in an examination of those artists admitted to the organization and how representative they are of diverse groups. Similarly, an examination of the organization's board and staff in terms of diversity will be well received. Artistic quality. We'd like to see additional information about criteria for acceptance into the organization. For example, which juried art exhibitions are considered, and how does the board decide what is a professional level of artistic skill? And finally, under community engagement, while the organization's relationships with other local entities is well documented, more emphasis on community feedback from individuals may provide broader perspectives. Surveys, as mentioned in the narrative, are a good step. Thank you.
Taryn, any additional comments?
Just one quick one. I would have liked some more information on the free community concerts and how they work. It wasn't clear to me who attends or how they get there, so that would have been helpful.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Additional comments? Hearing none, panelists, please then update any comments or scoring and signify when you're ready to move to the next application. Thank you, Taryn. Thank you, Jessica. And thank you, Bonnie. Up next, let's move over to the Brown County Playhouse Management Incorporated. Our reader is Jessica.
Okay, so under organizational excellence, it is clear that this organization has great value. I was left wanting some more detail though throughout. It would have been helpful to have an explanation of the organization's programs and services and the needs it's addressing specifically. Part C mentioned that there was some part-time staff, a board and volunteers, and Part D referenced full-time staff. So I was just a little confused by that. I would recommend some urgency on creating a job description and hiring an executive director if that's their intention, like they mentioned, just to make sure that they do have that capacity to carry out their mission moving forward. And it sounds like the board is doing great work related to the organization's financial situation. Under IDEA, it is clear that the organization has discussed and tried to come up with ways to improve these efforts. I appreciated their idea to do the free movies. I think this is a perfect response, especially in a community that sees many residents who are unable to afford a typical show. I also appreciated the goal to find ways to reach elderly populations where they need it. The response did lack some information on what needs to be done to achieve their goals that they set. And I'm left wondering what the plan is to improve how acts are selected for performances. It would have also been helpful to know what the application process is like for summer camps and what diversity they may have seen at any of their programs or performances. Under artistic quality, I was left needing some more information on the quality of the performing acts and artists. It would have been helpful to have more information on how those are selected. It's clear that he has the qualifications and experience to know people, but I needed some more detail there. And the description of the organization's process for continuous improvement was a little vague, but I was able to get some information from the previous response, which was helpful. I also would have liked to know who's involved in teaching students at the summer camp, how the teachers are chosen, or how artistic quality is sought in other programs that it offers. And finally, under community engagement, I appreciated that theater cast members are asked for feedback and that their scripts and ideas are submitted. I think that's a great idea. I also appreciated that the organization listened to the community's feedback, which led to the Friday night movies. This is a great community collaboration example. It wasn't clear to me how input is gathered from the community. It seemed that only verbal feedback was sought. it is unclear to me still if their surveys are digital or written, if those are an option for people that may not feel comfortable giving face-to-face feedback. And it would have been helpful to have information on other partnerships mentioned at the beginning of the application.
Thank you. Very thorough. Any additional comments?
Under artistic quality, I found it kind of unclear when they were talking about collaborating with John. I didn't know if they meant Mellencamp or a different John, and if it was a different one, in which capacity. And then I also was wondering about the oral or written feedback.
Okay. Hearing none additional comments, please update your scores. Make any changes and let me know when we're ready to move to the next one. Thank you, Taryn. Thank you, Jessica. And thank you, Bonnie. Up next is the Carnegie Heritage Arts Center for Greene County Incorporated. First reader is Bonnie.
Okay. Okay. Something that I thought was kind of interesting on this is that part of their mission is also to preserve the architecture, which is something that a lot of times we don't stress as much in the art community. And they also have a very diverse board with women and LGBTQ plus artists on the board. And they stress that and use that as to help with their program. It also appears to be an anchor of arts in Greene County, and particularly in Linton, which is underserved. And they do, as I said before, they do have that commitment to diversity and the artist on board to help create programming requested by the arts community. So they are definitely listening to their to those they're serving. And the under community engagement, the interest survey sounds like it will be a valuable tool when they have that set up. That's
Hey, thank you. Any additional comments? Okay, hearing none, then let's update our applications and scores if needed, and let me know when we're ready to move to the next one. Thank you, Taryn. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Bonnie. Up next is Early Music Associates Incorporated, and we're back with you, Bonnie.
okay. Okay. Apologies, I'm having to use a little different technology this morning. Okay.
Good.
Okay, so one of the things that I noted about their organization was they have 5 months cash reserves, which I think is very much appreciated. They also are using live streams and now focusing on, they've learned from their community that it was wise for them to focus on a different underserved group for a project for each year. For example, one year was for women. This year, it's going to be for exiled groups, which seems really timely. They also make sure that their concerts and workshops are now all in public spaces and not just university spaces, to make it more equitable for people who might be intimidated or may not have that experience with university spaces. And they're also partnering with Latin American musicians and developing Spanish language materials to increase their access to other groups or underserved groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Any additional comments? Jessica?
Yeah, especially in the idea section, it sounds like this organization is doing a lot of really great work. One thing I would love to know more about that was mentioned are the partnerships with the Refugee Services Network and the Exodus Refugee Immigration. It sounds like a great idea. I just wanted to know more.
Thank you. Taryn?
Yeah, I appreciated the inclusion of specific demographic data. That was very helpful.
Fantastic. Thank you all for your comments. So let's now move to updating any comments on the application system or any scoring, and then let me know when we're ready to move to the next one. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Taryn. Thank you, Bonnie. Up next is Lotus Education and Arts Foundation, and our reader is Taryn.
Under organizational excellence, Lotus is a well-developed organization with a broad reach. They have 3 decades of demonstrated artistic, cultural, and economic value that they provided to the area. Under IDEA, in their application, they demonstrated a commitment to seeking feedback from the community and improving on all IDEA principles. Under artistic quality, the organization appears to be actively engaged in the music festival community, which was a new piece of information to me. Seeking out performers who represent different genres and demographic backgrounds to further strengthen the Lotus Festival. And in community engagement, they've demonstrated a commitment to being a part of the community and working with all stakeholders to create high quality arts events. Thanks.
Thank you, Taryn. Any additional comments from the rest of the panelists? Jessica?
Sure. I just wanted to acknowledge their intentional dementia-friendly training that they mentioned. I thought that was a great aspect of their idea response.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Hearing none, then let's move ahead and update your application and scorings if needed, and let me know when we're ready to move to the next one. Thank you, Taryn. Thank you, Jessica. And thank you, Bonnie. Moving on, we're heading now to the Sculpture Trails Outdoor Museum with our reader, Jessica. You are muted, my friend.
Thank you. Under organizational excellence, I really appreciated the details and thought put into this response. It was really clear to me, never having experienced this organization, what they do, why they're valuable, and what they bring to their community. There are great things happening there with the community at the front and center. It would have been helpful to have some more information on their financial goals. Under IDEA, I appreciated that the response focused on the physical accessibility of the organization since it provides a physical experience. The organization is clearly focused on making this trail accessible to people of all physical ability levels. And I also liked the idea to create a map that would be accessible to those that don't speak English or that are not capable of understanding complex directions. I thought that was great. That being said, it would have been helpful to have some details on audience demographics. It is clear that the organization serves low-income individuals and families, but the response is lacking in some other demographic areas. It just would have been helpful to have more information there. Under artistic quality, the response provided a strong evidence of the high artistic quality they seek for their programs. It's clear that all the teaching artists and demonstrators are professionals or high-level students. I would have liked more information on how the artists are vetted and what the application process looks like. Under community engagement, I appreciated the information on how social media and other marketing strategies are analyzed and how they use that to help improve who they're engaging with. And I thought the explanation of how input is gathered left me wondering how they evaluate how successful an event is and if there are participant surveys. And then the educational programs and school partnerships are mentioned in other responses. But in this section, it would have also been helpful to have more information on how they're mutually beneficial. It's clear from the response that the internship programs and professional artists have a mutually beneficial experience. That part was really strong.
Thank you, Jessica. Any additional comments?
I would have liked a little bit more information on how it affects the local community with the partnerships, local artists, et cetera. So for example, how does it define the local culture? I wasn't quite clear on that.
Thank you, Bonnie. Any additional comments? Hearing none, let's then update any comments or scores and give me a thumbs up when we're ready to move to the next one. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Jessica, and take it, Sharon. Great. Up next is Shawnee Theater of Greene County, and our reader is Jessica. And you are muted.
Thank you. Under organizational excellence, I thought they clearly explained their impact, need, and their programs and services. It would have been helpful to have more information on how many people it reaches each summer or each year and how many students are impacted and return. It appears to have an incredibly supportive board. Some more information on if the new producing artistic director is rehired each year or if it's constant was a little unclear to me as someone that's never interacted with them before. Under idea, I appreciated that the organization published triggers in their shows. This is such an inclusive way to help people that may have mental health concerns or responses to overstimulation. And it was great also to hear that this organization has a great sound system that can cater to those with hearing impairments. The consideration of new seating that is ergonomic and more accessible for people with mobility concerns is also really respectable. I appreciated the notion that idea work can eventually lead to more people relocating to the area. Also a great statement. It would have been helpful to have more information on how they handle pricing requests. I was left wondering if they accept every request or how they kind of go about taking those. Under artistic quality, I appreciated the importance placed on learning from the senior actors that had more experience and technical skills. I thought this teaching strategy certainly contributed to their artistic quality based on their response. I would have liked some more detail in this section on how teachers or staff were hired. And I also appreciated that actors from novice through professional level were considered for this organization. Under community engagement, I'd recommend an electronic version of the survey being available, maybe in a post-show email, a QR code, or on the website, something for people that want to leave more anonymous feedback. And it seemed that Shawnee had great partnerships. An explicit explanation of how these are mutually beneficial was missing. It's clear that neighboring businesses benefit from patrons attending their productions, but I was also left wondering how they directly benefit from this. For example, do actors gain, what do they gain from speaking or demonstrating at schools?
Great. Thank you, Jessica. Any additional comments?
I had one, in addition to doing digital surveys, as Jessica mentioned, I also wondered if the staff receives feedback from social media and if that was another way of getting some information and we just don't know that in the application.
Thank you, Bonnie. Any additional comments from the panelists, please update your scores and comments if needed and let me know when we're ready to move to the next one. Thank you, Taryn. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Bonnie. Up next is Stages Bloomington, and our reader is Taryn.
Thank you. Under organizational excellence, the organization's narrative demonstrates its ability to provide acting opportunities to children and teenagers with a focus on social and personal development. The organization shows this with defined governance structures, a clear understanding of what their art form does for practitioners in terms of language development, literacy, interpersonal skills, etc., and a long track record of successful programming. Successfully navigating the pandemic and staying afloat speaks to their capacity to continue carrying on this work. Under idea, detailed narrative with strong specific examples of how they have deepened idea principles in their work and how it has strengthened the organization. The organization has a clear understanding of their audience and actively seeks to uplift underserved communities. Under artist quality, the organization demonstrates a significant commitment to artistic quality in the service of developing youth and provides multiple examples of past work. And they had good specific examples. And finally, under community engagement, the organization is deeply invested and embedded in the community. This is clear from their detailed, specific response. Thank you.
Thank you, Taryn, for the thorough comments. Any additional ones from the rest of the panelists?
I had a couple. I definitely appreciated that there were 6 months of cash reserves on hand, and they were working on keeping a diversified stream of income. And then also that they effectively increased the involvement and engagement with the community by using a different school chorus for each show performance, bringing in people that might not necessarily come in otherwise to see their kids.
I just have one comment. The response under organizational excellence was really strong. I can tell that there's a need there, but I would have also liked to know maybe some quantitative information on music education opportunities in that Bloomington school district that was mentioned. I think that would have been a way to make this response even stronger.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Hearing none, let's head then to update any comments in your application system or the score if needed. And let me know when we're ready to move to the next one. Thank you, Taryn. Thank you, Bonnie. And thank you, Jessica. The next application is from U.S. International Heart Competition Incorporated. Before we move on to this one, we do have one conflict of interest. So I'll ask IAC staff to put Jessica Edwards on the waiting room before we start commenting on this one. All right, thank you. And our reader for this one is Bonnie.
Notably, it's the largest solo harp competition in the world and has global representation. I think that's pretty impressive. There's good information on the live stream access and free entry. And the board chair is a CPA, and members at large are from multiple states and countries, showing a pretty far reach there for the organization. For IDEA, they've added a vision statement and strategic plan. They also make sure their printed programs are large print and their venues are ADA compliant and work with numerous age ranges. With the artistic quality, I thought there was an impressive array of the international competition and judges reflecting a high expectation of the artistic quality. For the community engagement, they talk about they saw an issue with, say, the parking and signage at a previous event and took corrective action immediately. And they also get feedback from teachers. So the Harp Start program is more interactive throughout. They've got a good use of feedback and creatively solving problems or making improvements.
Thank you, Bonnie. Taryn, any additional comments?
Yep, just wanted to support what Bonnie's saying under IDEA. Their application showed efforts to make harp music as accessible as possible from a financial standpoint.
Thank you. Analysts, please update any comments or scoring and let me know when we're ready to move to the next one and let Jessica back into the room. Thank you, Taryn. Thank you, Bonnie. ISC staff, please welcome back Jessica to the meeting, please. Thank you. Welcome back, Jessica. Up next, we're heading over then to Windfall Dancers and our Incorporated, and our reader is Bonnie.
Okay. Okay. For organizational, on organization, a brief mention of what makes a school unique, like an event or program, perhaps, I think would make the section a little bit stronger. They do broaden their outreach by giving scholarships to all who request. and they welcome dancers regardless of age, ability, and background. They're also sensitive to hearing loss participants, and they have a plan to attract more people of color, but haven't put that into place yet. For the artistic quality, the description could benefit from specific examples. And under community engagement, there are good sources of feedback from audiences and participants, and there are several strong arts community partnerships.
Thank you, Bonnie. Any additional comments from panelists?
Under IDEA, I really appreciated that this organization does not turn anyone away for not being able to pay for classes and programs. This is a very bold move, but it's such a great way to increase IDEA goals.
Thank you. Taryn?
Yeah, to add to that, I noted their well-rounded approach to strengthening IDEA principles in their work. For example, paying close attention to events in the wider world and compensating with support and programming. So the example there is the war in Ukraine. They adjusted and did programming based on that.
Thank you all for your comments. Please take this moment now to update any scoring or comments and let me know when we're ready to move to the next one. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Jessica. Taryn, are we ready to move on with you? Oh, thank you so much. Up next is Writing for Change Foundation in Bloomington. Jessica Edwards is our reader.
Okay. Under organizational excellence, I thought what the organization does was clearly defined. Programs were clearly explained, and it outlined the operational and financial situations very well. The value and need of the organization was very clear. More information on which programs are paid for by writers and which are not would have been helpful. There are 4 major goals for financial development, including a need for increased marketing. And there are a lot of new and free ways and automated tools that I'd suggest looking into. It was exciting to read that this organization's fundraising event will resume soon after the pandemic. That was great. Under IDEA, the response was incredibly strong. It demonstrated the organization's multifaceted IDEA efforts and their deep commitment to welcome all people. And the organization serves underserved populations as its core mission, but I thought it took it a step further by finding ways to truly include everyone. It would have been helpful to have more information on how they invite people to attend their circles, what channels they've tried, what was successful, what was not, etc. Under artistic quality, it would have been helpful to have more information on the qualifications of the facilitators. I imagine the nature of the work elicits some difficult situations and behaviors from participants, so it would have been helpful to know more about how those hosting artists are supported to handle the writing circles. There is evidence of a process for continuous improvement in this response. It mentions that staff is trained and that the organization is seeking more opportunities with additional funding that will help strengthen their existing work. It was also wonderful to read in this section how successful the writing participants are and that many of them have published works. The artistic quality of their experience is clear, especially from their partnership with the bookstore, and the bookstore's willingness to display the work of those writers is really great. Under community engagement, the organization was clearly committed to helping the community and gathering input. I thought it was great that they collect evaluative comments after every session. I think their process of getting community input could be stronger if they met with partners or new organizations and asked what they needed. It sounds like they've done this with their current partners, but an explanation of how they ask the community what they need for new partnerships potentially was not as clear to me. And the response to the community engagement ladder was also honest and showed reflection on what could be done next to strengthen their process of reaching out to new people. The response could have also been strengthened with direct explanation of how their partnerships with places like Monroe County Correction Center are also beneficial to the organization. I can, of course, assume, but it would have just been helpful to have an explicit explanation.
Thank you, Jessica. Any additional comments? Taryn?
Yep, to support that under organizational excellence, I appreciated the addition of quotations from participants, specifically from Stonebelt. I thought that was very helpful. And pursuing in-house strategies for financial constraints, for example, tuition increases and an increased focus on marketing is encouraging to see. Thanks.
Thank you. Bonnie?
I also appreciated they mentioned that the setting of where they're located is adjacent to a women's shelter. That seemed really beneficial to both parties and in keeping with their mission.
Thank you. Panelists, please make any additional updates to both comments or scores if needed, and let me know when we're ready to proceed. Thank you, Taryn. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Bonnie. So this concludes the fiscal year 2024-2025 Arts Organization Support Advisory Review Panel for Region 8, Greater Bloomington area. On behalf of the ISC commissioners and our staff, I want to share gratitude to our panelists for their time and expertise as they review the application for this region. To our applicants, you'll be notified of the status of your grant application following the June IAC quarterly business meeting. In the meantime, if any of you have questions, please contact your regional arts partner, Sean Hildreth at the Brown County Community Foundation. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you have a great day and a great weekend.